Hey, welcome back to Eye on Agriculture. I'm Britton Rucker. We're taking a look at where Kansas and the U.S. stands and land prices at the moment. We're joined now with Reid, Extension Farm Economist with Kansas State University. Robin, what's going on in the ag land market at the moment?
Well, it's been an interesting last few years. Really, when we came off the pandemic, we had commodity prices increasing, and that was, your corn, soybeans, wheat, grain, sorghum across the state. And on top of that, we had the government payments that were helping, the CFAP payments, and that really gave producers across the state money to bid on farm ground. And we saw land prices increasing really, really rapidly the last few years. The data would say 23% year over year. So if you think about that 3 years in a row, that's almost a 70% increase in agricultural land values over the last few years. So that's a very historical high rate of growth.
Where do you see Kansas land values headed? Do you continue to see that trend go up and up and up?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. So we've been in this place before. Not that long ago, actually. We had escalating land prices between 2010 and 2014, and then we had a huge drop in profitability between 2014 and 2015. What we're seeing now is we see commodity prices going down, with the exception of cattle, is we are entering tougher times in agriculture, and this will slow down the rate of growth on land values. I would argue we knew this was coming. We cannot sustain 23% increase year over year. So we knew a slowdown was coming. The question is, how much will that slowdown occur? So I've been talking to a lot of land professionals over the last couple months with presentations across the state, and we all pretty much agree that there will be a leveling off of the land market. We could, in some areas, still see increases this year compared to last year, but in some cases, we could probably even start seeing some decreases in land value. It's just a matter of how long do commodity prices stay at a lower level than we saw in the last few years, and that will really determine if we see land prices going down or if we just see a leveling off in the market until farm profitability goes back to a better level.
Now, Robin, this is a question a lot of people wanted the answer to. Who owns the majority of Kansas farmland?
Yeah, so I get this question a lot, and that comes both in the form of here domestically and even foreign ownership of agricultural land, which I know has been a hot button issue across the nation. My research has looked at mostly domestically how things have changed. And if you think about it, we are entering a time where the baby boomer generation of farmers are retiring, and that land would either be inherited or sold. And a lot of that land would be inherited, but a lot of those heirs may not be on the farm anymore. They might be in Kansas City or Wichita, or they might not even be in Kansas anymore. And so when I've looked at 2015 ownership compared to the 2022 data, what I'm seeing is a small shift of ownership outside of Kansas. So less landowners are living here within the state. And then I've also done some research on foreign ownership as, again, hot button issue. And really what we're seeing in Kansas that gets caught in the foreign ownership data is a lot of wind energy long-term leases. And so unfortunately, it's really hard to just take apart who is actually owning land. I do know it's a very small amount of acres here in the state that are actually owned by a foreign individual or company.
Well, Robin, thanks so much for coming on Eye on Agriculture, and we'll be back with more after the break.